In the shadow of ancient doorsteps, a peculiar ritual unfolded, one that whispered of power and peril. Imagine a man, cloaked by night, who kneels at the boundary of his rival's home. In his hand, cool lead etched with curses, its surface slick and biting with intent. He buries it deep beneath the threshold. Above, the path seems innocent and welcoming. Below, it is a snare, a silent trap for those who tread unaware, stepping into a realm where the underworld listens. These were the curse tablets, defictiones, etched in spite and ambition, carrying the weight of 1,000 whispered yearnings into the earth. Imagine, if you will, the veil of the past drawing back to reveal an ancient city alive with secrets. The night is still, shadows lengthening under a canopy of stars, where doors creak with hidden life and cloaked figures tread softly. It is a world where superstition pulses through the veins of its people, weighing heavy in the warm night air. This forgotten realm invites us to uncover hidden truths, stories etched not just in history books, but in leaden tablets buried beneath the very thresholds we now cross. Our journey delves into a world where the ancient Greeks lived and breathed under the spell of mysterious beliefs. They saw beyond the tangible to realms filled with shadows and unspoken words. Within this world, curse tablets emerge as silent witnesses to a time governed by emotions and the enigmatic. Each tablet, an artifact of personal vendettas or fervid desires, speaks volumes about the inner lives of the ancients. Picture a solitary figure kneeling at the boundary of a rival's home, shrouded in darkness. This is no ordinary act, but a midnight ritual, one born from desperation and whispered secrets. In this silent ceremony, words of animosity are inscribed upon lead, a metal believed to carry the weight of the curse to the gods below. It is a bid to alter fate, an act both sacred and secretive, a last resort in a world where personal vendetta unfolded in the dead of night. The process of creating a curse was a craft that required both skill and emotion. Sharp styluses scratched fervent wishes for misfortune onto malleable sheets of lead. These artisans, driven by jealousy or despair, poured their souls into every word. The tablet was then folded with care and nails pierced through, ensuring its grim intent was tethered firmly to the earthly plane. In this ancient narrative, the doorstep functioned as more than a mere piece of architecture. It was a symbolic frontier that separated the sanctuary of home from the unpredictable world beyond. To place a curse beneath this threshold was an audacious challenge to the protective forces believed to guard one's abode. This act resonated with deep symbolism, transforming protective customs into conduits of malevolent power. Turning to the social context, curse tablets were crafted not just for the living, but as messages to the dead. They targeted spirits dwelling in the netherworld, appealing to chthonic deities and the restless dead for their intervention. These were the silent partners in disputes, bringing unseen forces into the fray to sway the living's fortunes. The ancients included the dead as a part of their society, believing they held sway over earthly matters. Inscriptions on these tablets were draped in bewitching imagery, brought to life not just by the words but by the symbols and drawings accompanying them. Images of deities like Hecate adorned these slabs, adding layers of mystique and urgency. The snake, a recurring motif, embodied both protection and danger, speaking to the complex interplay of power and vulnerability that permeated the curse's intent. As centuries passed, these ancient whispers re-emerged, each tablet unfolding tales of human emotion, love twisted by jealousy, friendships destroyed by betrayal, faith shattered by rivalry. They provide glimpses into the personal lives of the ancients, where individual narratives unfolded in drama and despair, transcending language to connect with universal human experience. In our exploration, these tablets speak not only of the ancients' fears, but also of their subtle rebellions. They reflect a world where superstition gave voices to silent battles and invisible power struggles. These artifacts reveal ancient societal tensions, depicting a haunting dance of power, wealth, and status, often disrupted by curses that instilled vulnerability and fear. At heart, each tablet taps into the raw fabric of human emotion. They tell stories of spurned lovers, envious rivals, and the overlooked yearning for recognition. Underneath every inscribed word, we discover timeless sentiments with which we still resonate today. These tablets capture universal feelings, reminding us that certain aspects of human experience are indeed eternal. Despite erosion that dims clarity, these tablets draw us into the rhythmic dance between past and present. In their quiet stillness, they whisper tales that fuse ancient worlds with modern curiosity. Scholars toil to decode their secrets while the arcane captivates the imagination of today. As we conclude this journey through the layers of dirt and whispers, we find threads of connection running between us and those who lived long ago. These curse tablets emerge as links to the past, weaving together our shared human struggle of hope, desire, and envy. They urge us to see history as a tapestry of flickering narratives, where seen and unseen worlds perpetually entwine, offering endless discovery and enchantment. In the dim and shadowy world of ancient Greece, thin sheets of lead became canvases of malice and desperation, echoing with the desires of those who sought to reach the gods below. The choice of lead was no coincidence. Its cold, weighty presence was intimately tied to the underworld, conveying the gravity of emotions from the living to the dead. Available to many due to its abundance, lead was prized for its pliability, allowing ancient scribes to effortlessly inscribe their grievances. Once covered in the etchings of desires and curses, these sheets were folded tightly, often pierced with nails, embodying the act of metaphysical binding. Imagine, if you will, ancient artisans hunched over by torchlight, styluses in hand, inscribing each letter with the intensity of a sorcerer's incantation. These writings were not intended for longevity, like grandiose edicts or memorials. They were raw, immediate, terse words, repeated names, rhythmic prose. The urgency was palpable as each hurried script battled against time and fate. These curse tablets, known to historians as deficciones, weren't mere fragments of a forgotten past. They were messages launched into the abyss, seeking the ears of Hades and his chthonic court. Behind each scratch and scrawl lay a person, perhaps a spurned lover or a rival bested, their deepest fears and hopes laid bare in the light of a flickering flame. To them, naming someone in lead was no different from conjuring a shadowy spectre, a call to supernatural forces to intercede, to tip the scales of justice, or weave a new fate. Simply put, inscribing a tablet was an act of magic, a wish made tangible, destined for deities lurking just beyond the visible world. Defictions were often tales woven into the fabric of lead, begging the gods to intervene. They weren't solitary acts of vengeance, they represented the ancient Greek mastery of blending reverence with pragmatism. Each curse carried an acknowledgement of the divine hierarchy, whispering hopes that the proper words, once read by the right god, would weave their spell. Depositing such tablets under doorsteps or in graves underscored a firm belief in the thin veil separating the worlds of the living and the dead. The language of these curses ranged vastly, from straightforward commands to lyrical odes of dark desire. What a tapestry they wove, some with stark lists of names endlessly repeated, an ancient attempt to make sheer repetition an act of power. Others read like forgotten songs, verses crying out from the depths of fervour and clenched intention. But every inscription, no matter how mundane or poetic, sought to bend the ear of the divine toward earthly woes. Cruelty and craving, humour and irony, all echoed in this dance of words where language was the true sorcery. In these ancient dialogues with the divine, the spoken word held power, speech defined status and success. So many scribes invoked led to silence an adversary. Instead of direct confrontation, they sought to silence rivals in courts and daily life, hoping to unwind their tongues and quench their prowess. To the Greeks, words held a potent magic, and the curse tablets aimed to wield them through divine intermediaries. Deities associated with the underworld, shadows on the edge of oblivion, like Hecate, Hermes, Chthonios and Persephone, were often invoked. To seek their aid was to call upon those who understood both life and death, purity and corruption. Their favour was hoped to tilt the balance of human affairs, to enact cosmic justice upon those who transgressed. Creating a curse was, itself, a ritual as layered as the clouds above Persephone's own realm. Not just an act of writing, it was a ceremony, meticulously executed. The process might begin by acquiring lead, perhaps repurposed from an old object, or bought from a local smith. Then, armed with stylus in hand, one would voice their plea through the lead, channeling their intent stroke by stroke. The folding, the piercing, these were final acts of intent, ritual gestures meant to bind both physically and spiritually. Yet beyond vengeance, some tablets spoke of loneliness, longing and love unreturned. Among the myriad desires lay traces of the ancients' cravings for connection. Burn with passion, or be bound to me. These emotive engravings were cries as heartfelt as any else, born of isolation and ardour. In these love spells, magic served as a last resort for those aching to bridge the chasms between hearts. Turning to the divine wasn't just an emotional plea, but a shrewd bargain. Inscriptions were offerings unto themselves, exchanges meant to curry favour in the court of the otherworldly. Whether through gifts or promises, Greeks engaged in a barter system with gods, using words as currency to negotiate the fulfilment of their desires. Ultimately, the act of laying a curse tablet was more than the completion of a ritual. It was a pact between mortals and the divine, a solemn declaration that earthly struggles demanded a celestial answer. To hide these tablets in sacred places was to believe in the seamless blend of the seen with the unseen. Each tablet was a thread spun into the vast tapestry of fate, where words carved in lead sought to echo across eternity. Deciphered today, these relics speak as clearly as they did then, testimony to a world where words bore the weight of worlds and desires reached beyond the stars. In the ancient Greek world, love and spite danced a delicate waltz. Heartbreak often prompted a turn to the leaden tablets known as defictiones. Here, the otherwise unspeakable could be etched into lead and buried deep, where fury and hurt might find their mark. Imagine Theodora, whose dreams were disturbed by a curse from a wronged lover. May Theodora never sleep with peace in her heart. A tablet read, raw emotion wrapped in a plea to unseen forces. These cursed tablets served as vessels for passions too dangerous to voice in the open. The tablets weren't just for matters of the heart. In the bustling marketplaces, competition was fierce. Tradespeople, everyone from bakers to blacksmiths, often found their survival at risk, which sometimes led them to etch curses against their rivals, praying to the gods to muddle a competitor's success or spoil the products of a neighbouring merchant. Ancient inscriptions record such hostile acts, a testament to their precarious existence, driven by an economy as volatile as the Mediterranean seas. For these craftsmen, calling upon the divine to tilt fate was as much a part of commerce as the clang of hammers or the aroma of fresh bread. In the shadow of ancient arenas, gladiators and athletes entered the ring weighed down by more than muscle. They contended with curses aimed to cripple their prowess. Rivals, or sometimes gamblers, desperate to protect their bets, invoked dark forces to trip agile feet or silence the bravado of their nemesis. These precautions were woven tightly into the fabric of competition, where victories and defeats shaped both reputation and fortune. Here the clash of sport and superstition found new life, suggesting that even the mightiest athletes of yore knew the whispers of fear. The courtroom was no sanctuary from such spectral intrusions. In a world where oaths rivaled evidence, legal adversaries weren't above slipping curses into the arsenal. One Athenian tablet pleads for the gods to mute an opposing witness, aiming to twist justice with a supernatural nudge. Such acts reflect the blurred line between the earthly pursuit of justice and a reliance on divine interference. It was a place where rhetoric met the sacred, and even the law's stalwart champions believed in powers beyond their scrolls and statutes. Politics, an ever-seething cauldron of intrigue, found curses a useful, if clandestine, weapon. Leaders and wannabes alike sketched divine petitions to entangle their opponents' ambitions in a net of misfortune. A curse could darken an adversary's influence or confound their plans, a subtle but powerful tool in the theatre of governance. For politicians, these shadowy rites reflected the treacherous dance of alliance and betrayal that characterised public life, fueling the mysterious allure of power. But curses weren't confined to the leaders or elite. Common folk, too, turned to these incantations as a way to level the playing field. Inscriptions on deficciones reveal the murmurs of everyday grievances, from domestic quarrels to minor disputes, all reaching skyward in the hope of divine arbitration. These tablets became the equalizers for those who couldn't speak from the pulpits of privilege. With a scratched prayer to higher powers, they challenged societal constraints and sought justice with a distinctly otherworldly edge. There were also more ominous creations, the incantations written to rouse the restive dead. Some tablets called on spirits to avenge wrongs left unresolved by the living. For the Greeks, the afterlife was too near for comfort, and they believed fervently in the potential power of a disturbed soul. The invocation of these restless dead told of a belief that death was not an impermeable barrier, but a gate through which vengeance might yet slip, offering an eerie echo of fears that still cloud the human condition. Merchants whose livelihoods were bound to the whims of wind and wave wielded deficciones in hopes of calm seas and fair trade winds. Amid contracts and cargoes, curses floated from tongue and pen, binding sails or halting breezes as they wove human hopes into nature's capricious fabric. The intersection of faith and fortune was laid bare aboard every ship, a testament to the timeless trial of courting Lady Luck while navigating the deep blue. In the rigid hierarchy of Greek society, curses also served the ambitious, seeking to scale the social ladder or crush a rival's climbing hand. Individuals inscribed spells to taint others' shine, crafting long, vivid portrayals of their targets before seeking to unbind their charisma in public arenas. Nothing was sacred in the race for honour and prestige, which these tablets silently chronicled, revealing a relentless ambition mirrored through the ages. These tablets, etched by countless hands across centuries, have gifted us glimpses of ancient hearts and minds. They capture a world where feelings and faith interplayed richly, leaving us with the haunting reminder that while times may change, the human soul's yearnings chiselled in lead transcend time, echoing across millennia. In the dim twilight of medieval Europe, where belief in the supernatural wound through daily life like ivy through stone, curse tablets were as much a part of the landscape as the very cobblestones. These deficciones, as they were called, were carefully hidden in places where their dark powers might be most potent. Imagine a bustling theatre, the air thick with anticipation and chatter. Beneath the feet of those engrossed in the drama above, beneath wooden seats or crumbling stone benches, lay hidden sheets of lead, silently watching and waiting. The theatres, such as the grand structure in Corinth, served dual purposes. Not only were they places of public entertainment, but they also provided a perfect cloak for the tablet's hidden machinations. Like an actor's whispered soliloquy, the curses aim to ride the emotional current of the performances, reaching out to the divine with each crescendo of human emotion. The dark depths of wells offered another gateway to the mystical. Walk to any village well, and what seems like a mere hole in the ground was, to medieval folk, a direct conduit to the underworld. By placing tablets into the murky waters, practitioners hoped their whispered malice would flow directly to the ears of gods or spirits lurking in those depths. Wells, symbols of both life-sustaining water and the unknown below, provided an ironic twist, using the life-giving element to nurture seeds of enmity. As villagers gathered to draw water each day, their very steps resonated with curses submerged in darkness. Graves too played a central role. To the people of that era, a grave was not simply a resting place. It was a liminal space, straddling this world and the next. As mourners wept and spoke to their buried kin, curses buried alongside these ghosts were thought to cross over into the spirit world with ease. Those recently interred, full of vitality, were believed to carry messages more swiftly, turning graves into delivery posts for spiritual and malicious intent. Beyond these, bathhouses, steamy sanctuaries of hygiene and social gathering, also held curses within their walls. The irony was delicious. Here, where people came to cleanse themselves in the purifying steam, the darkest of human intentions simmered underfoot. These places became cauldrons of secret animosities, where victims, bare and vulnerable, became unwitting targets of cunning, malevolent forces. Underneath the sturdy foundations of castles and homes, curses were embedded with deliberate stealth. These often served a calculated purpose, their weight bearing down upon the occupants, unnoticed yet powerful. As buildings grew over time, so did the potency of the deficciones hiding within, slowly influencing lives from beneath the security of bricks and mortar. The stone pillars were not just constructs of security, but silent sentinels carrying a different, darker promise. Courtrooms resonated with the whispers of entangled curses, strategically placed by shrewd individuals hoping to bend justice to their will. Beneath the benches where decisions teetered in the scales, these tablets influenced proceedings with a presence both invisible and insistent. The words etched upon them aimed to sway verdicts, the silent judges lurking beneath the orations. The nobility were not immune to such hidden adversaries. Within the palatial halls and estates, where the elite basked in opulence and power, curses navigated the intricacies of courtly intrigue. Hidden within the grandeur were the jealous whispers of those thwarted in ambition. While banquets and balls unfolded above, the malevolent influences lurked beneath fine marble and gleaming oak floors, waiting for a chance to strike at power's heart. Yet no place spoke to the audacity of these practitioners more than the spaces judged most sacred, the churches. Here within walls painted with holy scenes, and under altars where divine presence was thought to reside, tablets made their way. The brazenness of these acts illustrated a fearless belief in the tablet's power and in the practitioners' desperate pleas for intervention or retribution from the heavens. Even markets buzzing with the commerce of goods and the chatter of human voices were sites for defictiones. Merchants caught in fierce competition turned to these powerful tools, concealing them in stalls or amid wares. Here, amid the noise and chaos, they sought supernatural advantage over rivals, their whispered maledictions blending with the calls of traders in the busy maze of commerce. Lastly, in the serene beauty of gardens and grottos, the tablets took root among the flowers and foliage. These places, teeming with life and growth, offered a stark contrast to the dark intentions buried beneath. In spaces meant to soothe and inspire, defictiones lay obscured, where practitioners hoped their spiteful seeds would flourish unnoticed, casting shadows in the sunlight meant to nurture. Thus, across these varied landscapes, curse tablets lay hidden in silent dormancy, each one a story unfolded beneath the veneer of medieval life, a testament to a world where the natural and supernatural intertwined in an intricate dance of faith and fear. In the intricate tapestry of ancient Greek rituals, the precision of inscribing a name onto a cursed tablet was more than mere formalism. It was an incantation, deliberate and profound. Names were seen as potent symbols, encapsulating the very essence and identity of a person. So when a Greek scratched a name into a sliver of lead, it was a targeted act, aimed to direct cosmic forces with pinpoint accuracy. Each inscription was like a divine postal address, ensuring that the curse found its mark. The tablets often bore detailed identifiers, familial ties, hometowns, even distinctive physical traits. Each detail was designed to tie the curse firmly, like a metaphysical GPS destined to bind the person's being. The ancient Greeks' meticulousness with names reflected a deep belief in the metaphysical power of identity. Every syllable weighed heavily, as a misspelled name might dull the curse's edge. Such careful craft mirrored societal customs where names were sacred. Expressions like Eutychia, daughter of Dionysia, wife of Apollonides, she of the red sash, weren't just for show. Each word served to tighten the curse, ensuring it was not only unkind but unshakable. Naming within the script of a curse wasn't solely an act of spite, it was the art of weaponizing identity with a terrifying intensity. Names carried a weight far beyond their surface utility. In the classical world, a name resonated with personal and familial significance. It was a chord in the symphony of the cosmos, echoing through the lineage, affecting fate and social stature. To challenge a name with a curse was to disrupt its harmony, shaking the narrative thread within society's fabric. It offered not just personal affront, but put on a public spectacle by manipulating fate through linguistic precision. Beyond personal identification, names were pivotal in broader societal rituals too. Whether carved into gravestones, whispered in incantations, or penned in official documents, names connected the mortal and divine. The ancient Greeks believed correctly articulating names signalled reverence, an open dialogue with gods and ancestors. When inscribed onto curse tablets, a detailed name bridged the earthly with the spectral arbiters of fate, ensuring the plea resonated beyond the mortal realm. Naming in this context harnessed transformative energy, aligning malevolent determination with cosmic forces and directing this blend of magic and litigation at one's enemy. Obsessing over identity and its manipulation through mysterious forces wasn't uncommon. Clearly the soul and body were bound, with the name tying them to their essence. Inscribing a name sought to bind not just a person's physical being, but their very spirit. Naming reflected a collective anxiety over identity manipulation, rooted in the ancient need to control one's narrative in an unpredictable world. This obsession sat comfortably in the cradle of Greek philosophical thought. Whether seen through the lens of Pythagorean mysticism or Platonic ideals, the inquiry of what's in a name invited exploration of truth and perception. The curse's meticulous nature exposed a cultural dialogue of identity's malleability before the divine gaze. Thus, curse tablets became more than weapons of spite. They were tactile reflections of philosophical contemplation, exploring self-essence and the link between spoken word and shaped reality, aimed at cosmic manipulation for personal gain or protection. Crafting a curse became an art form, a careful blend of malevolent intent and creative finesse. Inscribers understood symbols as channels for intention, transforming tablets into artifacts, complex intersections where practical sorcery met creative ritual. This practice demands recognition of the shared space where emotional expression and supernatural intent flourished within ancient cultural aesthetics. The psychological impact on the cursed should not be underestimated. To know that one's identity was captured on a cursed tablet could be terrifying. In a society steeped in superstition and fear of divine retribution, being cursed marked one as both spiritually tainted and socially vulnerable. As vessels of misfortune, tablets cast shadows over the victim's life, fostering environments where fear stood poised to turn whispers into tangible dread. This fear spread beyond the individual, rippling into families and communities, amplifying the curse's potency. In these societies, language became a compelling tool of fear, a community project where inscribed curses served as social engineering. The intricate relationship between victim and cursor powerfully underscores how significant words could be, shaping both earthly and spectral domains. Today these practices resonate, echoing contemporary concerns regarding identity and power dynamics. Names coupled with intent carry the great weight akin to the impact of digital data in our lives. While technology has shifted, the core idea endures. Identity is valuable, fraught with expressive potential, yet vulnerable. Ancient curse tablets reveal themselves not merely as dusty relics, but as reflections on human nature, mirrors capturing the long-standing quest to harness control over the uncontrollable through a careful dance of identity and intent. In the dim chambers of ancient Greece, where the shadows danced to the flicker of candlelight, words became more than ink on lead. They transformed into tools of power. The Greeks, masters of language, grasped the potency of words not just to communicate, but to command. In crafting Difixiones, these cursed tablets, each stroke of the stylus on the malleable lead was deliberate, a calculated incantation meant to bind and subdue. For the practitioner, this was no mere scribbling. It was a ceremony of sorts, an intricate dance where words turned into chains, linguistic ropes meant to tether the victim to their fate. Invocations to underworld deities set the stage, beckoning those restless spirits who lingered in the shadows. Words must be as precise as the dagger tip, each carefully chosen to grip the forces they sought to invoke. Here language was shackled to intention, forming a bridge between mortal desire and divine intervention. These defictiones were not bland declarations of misfortune. They were intricate weapons, loaded with verbs of binding and twisting, uttered with a rhythm that mirrored the poet's craft. Rhyming added a lyrical menace, the cyclical echo serving to enclose the target in a loop of doom, a never-ending carousel of ill will. The Greeks knew the power of a well-cast rhyme, the harmony of sound that captures and ensnares the essence of a curse, much like a spider weaving its web. Repetition, too, was a staple in this verbal arsenal. A name inscribed again and again became a relentless chant, layering the curse with a rhythmic persistence that sought to erode the victim's defences. It was like a bell tolling in the night, each peal a reminder to the spirits to heed the accursed message. Names hammered into the tablet became a perpetual call to those inhabiting the spectral realms, ensuring that the victim's identity was etched into the very fabric of the curse. Beyond the written word, these tablets were imbued with visual talismans, etched symbols of ropes and chains, visually binding the names they enclosed. Such imagery did more than decorate. It magnified the spell's intent, locking the victim in a metaphoric prison. Nails, both drawn and driven through the tablet, punctuated this dark narrative. They didn't just fix the tablet shut, they symbolically pierced through the spirit of the cursed, embedding the curse deep within their reality. Yet for all their dark purpose, there was a twisted artistry to these curses. Language and imagery intertwined to create a tapestry of spite, and the poetics of malice were as intentional as the curses themselves. These invocations were songs of vengeance, their rhythmic cadence echoing the emotional landscape of their creators. Craftsmen of the spoken word, these practitioners infused their work with a melody of ill will, intent on ensnaring the victim in its cadence. Emotions flowed through these tablets like rivers through a canyon, carving the practitioner's desires into the lead. The emotional cadence within them was palpable, each inscribed syllable a testament to human emotion laid bare. Anger, jealousy, and love twisted into obsession were channeled into melodic incantations, each note a bridge between personal anguish and universal appeal to the otherworldly. The lead tablets became vessels of catharsis, capturing vulnerabilities that morphed into potent acts of magical retribution. Amidst the orchestrated chaos of letters and symbols, curses sometimes mimicked the very impediments they sought to cast. Words stumbled and stuttered, casting a linguistic spell intended to mirror the speech afflictions bestowed upon the victim. By tangling tongues in a web of verbal blunders, practitioners aimed to fracture the ability to communicate, striking at the social fabric that upheld their target's world. Communication was power, and to disrupt it was to tamper with the core of one's influence. These curses also bore the mark of formulaic language, standardized blueprints designed to summon specific outcomes. Just as a spell requires precise ingredients, so too did these curses rely on ritualistic language to harness their full potential. Invocations, instructions, and desires coalesced into a script that allowed anyone with the know-how to connect with the supernatural. This democratization of mystical power meant that anyone who could decipher the symbols could channel the forces they intended to unleash. But these defictiones carried unseen risks, whispering of consequences that could recoil upon the practitioner. For when one dances with the spirits, there's always a chance of misstep. To guard against this, Tablets were adorned with safeguards, muted prayers, and counter charms to placate the spiritual audience. In this delicate balance of power, the ancients navigated a moral maze, aware that curses could mirror their dark intent back at them. Within the shadows of Greek society, defictiones were wielded by the powerful and oppressed alike. Literacy and knowledge became gatekeepers to the crafting of these intricate spells, a divide that often left the wealthy or learned in greater control. Yet in a world where words wielded mystical authority, these curses were tools of both rebellion and repression, used to enforce hierarchies as much as to destabilize them. Even now we see echoes of this ancient practice in our modern world, where words are wielded with intention, both public and secretive. In every curse lies a tale of human nature, a desire to bind, silence, or compel, linking us irrevocably to those ancient artisans of the dark. In the dim alleys and silent graveyards of ancient Greece, the shadowy deities stood vigil, waiting to be beckoned by the desperate and the vengeful. Unlike the resplendent celebrations of Zeus and Apollo, the gods of the crossroads like Hecate and Hermes Chthonios whispered through the darker corners of human existence. These were not the gods of heroism. They operated in shadows, transitioning between worlds in tales of mystery and unknowable forces. Hecate, the guardian of ghosts and magic, held sway over those liminal spaces between the known and the unseen. Meanwhile, Hermes Chthonios, the psychopomp, guided souls into the underworld's depths, a conveyor between the living and the dead. These deities were not adored in elaborate ceremonies, but invoked with a mix of fear and necessity. Their domains embraced the forces beyond human grasp, making them the ideal recipients of curse tablets. The invocation of these deities was not done lightly, often wrapped in rituals of secrecy and done at the fringes of acceptable worship. Hecate stood as a sentinel at crossroads, holding torches or keys as if lighting the way through the unseen. Her spheres of influence, spanning earth, sea and sky, made her a natural intermediary for those casting curses. Her name on inscribed lead, whispered with verbs of binding and twisting, a call to manipulate the threads between worlds. At these crossroads where decisions hung in the balance, practitioners buried defictiones as offerings to a goddess capable of bending those unseen forces to their will. Hermes Chthonios presented another familiar face in this theatre of dark supplication. A version of Hermes less bustling and worldly, more chthonic and mysterious. As the conveyor of souls, he was invoked to ensure that the inscribed pleas on defictiones reached their final, unalterable destinations. He became the message bearer, carrying the weight of curses to those who mattered. The spirits and forces on the other side, those turning to Hermes Chthonios, sought resoluteness, wishing for their missives to escape the tangled web of divine or mortal interference. Under his watchful guidance, entreaties of vengeance or desperate love crossed realms, seeking a home. Persephone, the underworld's queen, stood between the realms of life and death like a bridge of transformation. With part of her year spent in the sunlit realm of her mother, Demeter, and the other in Hades' shadowy kingdom, Persephone's duality allowed her control over transitions, instilling curses with the power to sway justice and retribution. She held sway in matters that demanded a touch of understanding and severity, a goddess who lived amidst life, yet sanctioned the torment of souls in the underworld. Beyond these recognised deities, the daemons filled the otherworldly gaps, restless spirits who lived in the spaces between God and ghost. These beings, each a whisper of forgotten grievance and unfulfilled desire, could be summoned in countless curse tablets. Operators believed these restless souls offered favours unseen, their former ties to earthly life endowing them with an innate understanding of human plight. Daimoni standing alongside gods like Hermes or Hecate were variable allies in the world of curses, neither fully divine nor solely human, but a spectral chorus willing to intervene. Crafting a curse tablet was more than malevolent scribbling. Each step was part of a ritual deeply set in Greek tradition and superstition. The timing was critical, often performed at night or during liminal times like midnight or just before dawn, when shadows blurred boundaries for those expounding their dark wishes. Each inscription was deliberate, its purpose to beckon the divine ears, attuned to the mortal plights of pain and longing, etched with care to draw a response from the invisible listeners. The completion of a tablet required more than words. It demanded careful placement. The practitioners chose their locations: crossroads, graveyards, consecrated ruins, places where divine influence seeped into the mortal realm like a mist. Here the whispers of incantations spared in the night sought acknowledgement from Hecate's watchful eye or Hermes Chthonios' guiding hand. The patrons of these defictiones entered unwritten pacts with forces beyond, seeking outcomes wreathed in justice or protection amidst the dark. Invoking these powerful entities involved much more than the silent etching of messages. Sound played a vital role, and the ancients believed that certain auditory elements could seize divine attention. Whispers, chants, and incantations filled the night, lending rhythm to the act of binding. Silence, the partner to whispered secrets, carried power too, an acknowledgement of crossing into sacred spaces, allowing the deities to contemplate the heartfelt desires scattered at their feet. Cursing rituals often revolved around justice, a bid for resolution that transcended human morality. These curses touched on everything from domestic betrayals to business rivalries, where legal systems proved inadequate. Practitioners often walked a morally ambiguous line, driven by complex emotions, each believing their invocation, just while acknowledging the risk of tampering with forces beyond their understanding. Curse tablets were raw expressions of their creators' inner worlds, voicing frustrations, passions, and demands unaddressed by mortal hands. As catalysts for action within restrictive societal roles, they offered a sense of autonomy and challenge towards traditional constraints. These artifacts, remnants of a past littered with human longing, stand testimony to the enduring nature of our desires and provide a window into ancient hearts, echoing through time with the same blend of compassion and cruelty still alive today. In a time when human emotions were as unpredictable as the gods they worshipped, the ancient Greeks devised a startling method to control love: erotic curse tablets, or defictiones. Imagine the subtle scratch of a stylus carving deep lines into a thin lead sheet, each mark a raw plea from someone ensnared in the throes of passion. These tablets encapsulated the darker facets of love, moving away from the songs of gentle courtship sung by the poets of the era. Instead, they were desperate shackles forged in the furnace of fervid longing. Far from modern romantic notions, they were instruments of compulsion, designed to ensnare the emotions of another with a sense of urgency and despair. The prime objective of these erotic spells wasn't tender love, but a forceful grip over another's heart. They were not petitions for a gentle romance, but commands that demanded love with an edge of subjugation. The inscriptions invoked a certain fervour meant to induce both physical and emotional unrest in the target, ensuring that the desired object of affection succumbed to these relentless desires. This was not about creating mutual connections. It was about command and capture, an attempt to sidestep the capriciousness of human emotions by wielding divine might. In the shadowed world where these curses thrived, deities of the underworld were often called upon for aid. Hecate, the elusive goddess of magic and night, and Persephone, who bridged life and death, were frequent recipients of these fervent requests. Their dominion over mysteries and transitions mirrored the transformative ambitions these Defictiones sought to achieve. The language inscribed on the tablets was as potent as the emotions they were intended to manipulate. Rhythmic, almost incantatory phrases implored the divine to turn longing into a tangible resolution. Sensual and sometimes violent, these inscriptions demanded physical manifestations of burning desire, not gentle persuasions. More than mere suggestion, they were direct calls to divine power, urging intervention on behalf of a love that was as fervent as it was consuming. Targets of these curses were often caught unaware, sometimes competing lovers, but just as often, rivals in romance. Erotic Defictiones aimed to not just captivate the desired lover, but obliterate any competition. Jealousy's green tendrils wove through these texts, as silent wishes for blindness or silence laid the groundwork for a love unchallenged, enforced by supernatural will. Preparation of these tablets involved more than the simple act of etching desires onto lead. They demanded meticulous rituals, charged actions intended to amplify the spell's potency. The process often involved folding the lead, piercing it with nails, or embedding it amidst organic materials like blood or hair. These rites breathed life into the desire, transforming it from mere inscription to a living plea. The choice of where to bury these tablets was equally strategic. Tombs, doorsteps, or wells offered liminal spaces where the spells could draw from the mysterious boundaries between worlds. The materials used spoke volumes about the seriousness of these desires. Lead, heavy and permanent, was chosen not just for practicality, but for its symbolic resonance of weight and durability. Linked with Saturn by ancient alchemists, it was associated with limitations and control. Apt themes for endeavours designed to seize hearts and bind souls. Organic elements further reinforce these connections to life's cycles, offering both physical and symbolic links to the desires inscribed. Despite the cautionary nature of these spells, the caster faced risks of their own. Magical bindings could backfire, entangling the wrong person or unleashing unforeseen chaos. Tales of such debacles circulated, serving as reminders of the volatile nature of meddling with human emotions through divine proxies. Counterspells or amulets were sometimes fashioned, protecting the caster from the unpredictable fallout of their own enchantments. These tablets served as great equalizers across the class spectrum in ancient Greece. In elitist circles, they tilted the careful balance of strategic courtships, dancing on the edge of tradition and rebellion, while the lower classes wielded them with raw authenticity, driven by helplessness and genuine yearning for love's unpredictable trajectory. Today, discoveries of these ancient artifacts reignite stories long covered by the sands of time. As they are re-examined, they offer glimpses into not just the literal, but emotional landscapes of antiquity. The stark language, immediate and raw, transcends time to connect with our own experiences of love's tumultuous journey. Uncovering these tablets provides an opportunity to reflect on an ageless force, challenging notions of time and emotion. Through them, we are invited to converse with the spirits of a past world whose stories, brushed with fervent longing, still echo in our modern consciousness, bridging the timeless gaps of human experience. In the shadowy world of ancient magic, whispering curses against one's foes was not a task to be undertaken lightly. This dark art was fraught with peril. It carried the terrifying potential of turning against its caster, a misfortune as dreaded as the original hex. Those who dared to wield such power often wove in protective spells, hoping to guard themselves from their own malevolent intent. Yet the chilling reality remained that curses had a disquieting tendency to rebound, leaving the instigators ensnared in their wicked webs, swallowed by a fear as potent as the curse itself. The possibility of a curse ricocheting bore witness to the ancient belief in a cosmic scale, where balance and justice were paramount. The gods and spirits invoked could employ their own inscrutable judgment, deciding who truly merited the shadow of misfortune. Tales of reversed or magnified curses circulated like ghost stories, offering both cautionary warnings and evidence of the unseen world's tangled logic. Such stories carved themselves into cultural memory, serving as morality tales that whispered against the reckless wielding of supernatural power, enigmatic fables of heedless ambition. Crafting a curse was as much an art as it was a cautionary journey. Each step, from the selection of words to the choice of a burial site, had to be executed with precision. The Greeks spoke of anatropho, the boomeranged curse, a testament to their conviction that magic was a capricious living being. Cursing required not just zeal but humility, for any oversight could unleash a world of chaos far beyond one's control. Historical whispers, glimpsed through worn chronicles and gossamer-like gossip, speak of a curse gone awry in Hellenistic Egypt, where a budding curse maker aimed to hobble a charioteer. Instead, their own horse was paralysed on the eve of a decisive race. The spellbinder, finding plea their only recourse, became the unwitting subject of tales illustrating the arcane's unpredictable vengeance. To avert these mystic misfires, many ancient practitioners embraced the protective embrace of counterspells and amulets, not as an afterthought, but as essential safeguards. Elaborate incantations and simple symbols engraved on stones were employed to create defensive barriers. These artifacts showcase the trepidation with which the ancients navigated their tenuous grip over the supernatural, serving as talismanic reassurance against the unpredictability of their dark dalliance. In the fragile hands of the uninitiated, curse-making could be treacherously unforgiving. A misspelled word or an errantly etched name could, with cruel irony, rebound upon the caster or an unintended victim. Even the most minor error could doom the spell, its power fracturing under the weight of carelessness. Some tablets reveal corrections where scribes attempted desperate amendments, realizing too late the spectral consequence of human error. Among the troves of unearthed curse tablets, some bear cryptic phrases suggesting hidden warnings, hints of the caster's final acknowledgement of danger. These spectral inscriptions resemble spiritual signposts, offering riddles and metaphors to future generations versed in esoteric lore. In these enigmatic scripts, scholars discern echoes of ancient practitioners grappling with fear and self-restraint, walking the razor's edge between reality and the otherworldly. Responses to these phenomena were as varied as the cultures that witnessed them. Some dismissed them as quaint superstitions, while others regarded them with a gravitas reserved for divine justice. These tales reinforced communal ethics, reflecting societal fears of unchecked ambition and envy. The narratives became part of a cultural fabric, admonishing against interventions in the cosmic equilibrium. The tale of the paralysed charioteer became a haunting legend, embodying both fear and fascination with the supernatural. This backfire rippled through lore and literature, sparking debates about the limits of divine manipulation and illustrating the unpredictable nature of curse tablets. It exemplified curses as paradoxes, potent yet inherently unstable, capable of altering destiny while slipping from grasp without warning. This fear of backfiring curses compelled philosophers to ponder cosmic balance and the weight of intention. Engaging with curses was to traverse murky ethical waters where desires could warp the natural order. Thinkers like Plato and Pythagoras probed these themes, questioning whether humanity could truly wield such power, or if every curse indelibly marked the caster's soul. These reflections reveal deeper societal efforts to reconcile the human desire for control with life's inherent unpredictability. Cursed tablets symbolise an existential struggle, an attempt to bend unseen forces to one's will. Yet they also recall the limitations of mortal craft amidst a universe intent on equilibrium, raising timeless questions about justice and cosmic order. The tales of these backfired curses linger, resonating even with modern audiences. They emerge as metaphors for the unforeseen consequences of human actions and the inherent risks of manipulating life's chaotic forces. As today's digital world ushers actions into reality at the speed of thought, these ancient themes become ever more relevant, reminding us of the delicate dance between intention and consequence, a sobering memento of our own actions' potential to shape the world in unexpected ways. In our relentless quest to uncover the past, curse tablets surface like forgotten whispers from deep beneath the earth, often stumbled upon by accident. Imagine construction workers or archaeologists brushing aside layers of dust to reveal lead strips that immediately stand out from the usual relics. These tablets, akin to papyrus scrolls or pottery shards, are infused with an energy that only centuries-old fury or desperation could impart. It's like discovering a time capsule where echoes of personal vendettas and secret loves lie impatiently within. Yet unlike some finds, these tablets demand a careful hand, as even the slightest shift can erase the stories etched onto their delicate surfaces. The real challenge arrives when these tablets are finally in hand. Corrosion has often cloaked their inscriptions, locking them away from human eyes for so long. Here enters the delicate art of restoration, where traditional methods of cleaning risk, obliterating the very narratives we've sought to uncover. In come modern technologies like X-ray fluorescence, revealing the mysteries beneath layers of time without a touch. It's a careful dance where technology and archaeology unite to lift ancient voices from their rusty silence. Cracking open these tablets, we often hear cries that transcend the ages, those of heartache, envy and desperation. Some scribbles are stark and unadorned, reflecting a universal pain that resonates even today. You can almost hear the murmur of a long-gone soul seeking justice or vengeance, longing for relief from their perceived injustices. These expressions of human anguish bridge the centuries, reminding us that emotions, be they bitter or benign, never truly change. Then, among these anonymous cries, we find curses crafted with an unexpected artistry, beautifully structured, perhaps even rhymed, reflecting a careful intertwining of malevolence and creativity. The skillful hands behind these masterpieces found a strange symmetry between artistry and intent. embedding their resentment in lead with the same care a poet might dedicate to a beloved verse. It's a fascinating duality, a testament to the depth of their emotions, which lends a timeless fascination to these engraved tales. As we peer into these tablets, we also glimpse lives often forgotten by grand historical narratives. The grievances of women, slaves, and those relegated to society's margins find a voice etched into pliant lead. We uncover not the sweeping sagas of empires and elites, but the intimate dramas of neighbourhood spats and personal grudges. Their whispers break open the monolithic view of the past, revealing a complex tapestry of human interactions. And what of the vengeance inscribed in these tablets? Did it achieve its desired effect, or simply linger in unfulfilled silence as centuries swept by? These questions remain unanswered, casting a shadow over the dusty fragments. When we unearth such relics, we are more than mere archaeologists. We become guardians of ancient desire, untangling the threads of humanity's past hopes and fears, preserving them for future generations. Among the testimonies of curses fulfilled are tales of unintended consequences, serving as a reminder of fate's fickle nature. Ancient chroniclers documented instances where curses boomeranged onto the cursor, creating an enduring caution among those who dared to pen their desires into lead. These accounts add a layer of complexity, illustrating a delicate balance between intention and outcome. Over the years, as beliefs waxed and waned, our understanding of these tablets evolved, blending insights from anthropology, sociology, and history. We now see them as dialogues with the past, moments where fate, authority, and human emotion intersected. This shift invites us to reconsider the role curses played, not just as ancient superstitions, but as reflections of societal structures and individual aspirations. In today's digital age, these ancient whispers find new life through modern media. Their stories leap from dusty onion strands to vibrant mediums like podcasts, documentaries, and articles. With carefully woven narratives, these relics transcend time, engaging audiences far removed from the tombs and ruins they were once part of. We tread carefully here, balancing the thrill of discovery with respect for the cultures they represent, ensuring these stories build bridges from the distant past to present ears. As the chapter of Cursed Tablets closes, we recognise their place as nexus points between the worlds of yore and today. They illuminate the ancient fears and desires that shaped societies long gone, yet somehow still resonate with our own. These talismans bind us to them, creating connections that stretch across the ages. As our exploration of curses concludes, we invite you to join us on more journeys through history's shadows. If you found this tale of curses compelling, please subscribe to our channel for more strange and captivating insights into the past.